while in Memphis, I decided that it was a good idea to stop off at a place I have always wanted to come, the National Civil Rights Museum. Now, as you can tell, this looks like a hotel, but this isn't just any hotel. This is actually where Martin Luther King was assassinated. Can play videos and watch little pieces of the history. So it's already starting off to be quite an interesting museum. It's time to go in. The art over here is awesome, but we're gonna go into the museum. It's $16 for adults, but I think that's a small fee considering the subject matter and considering it's a newly remodeled museum. So let's go in and find out. There is one room that you enter before you come through the rest of the museum. It's the Tennessee exhibit. You can't take photos or video in there, but then you enter into this area, which actually has a huge map on the floor with the trade routes for slavery. And it's very interesting because it tells you the stories of the historic reference. Exhibits is actually the slave ship, because it shows you that the cost of a human life was very little. The space that they were shipped over to the United States was only about 3 feet 3 inches, and basically it's pretty dismal. So look at this. About to go see a 12-minute film. It shows about every 15 minutes and should be really interesting. It's off of this section, so that probably means it's going to tell a little bit more about the historic references. As you can see, this place is just filled with information. It's crazy incredible. Particular area is especially interesting to me because it talks about segregation in schools, and I grew up in a not super diverse community. It's diversified a little bit more now, but this is a really big deal to see this. And I was just speaking to another person who's traveling through, and it's a very emotional place. Like, you can't come through here and not feel something. Just in general, something has affected you. So you have to come in and see this to fully understand it. No amount of video or photo I can do is gonna allow you to understand the amazing impact of this place. I think the interactive portions of these exhibits maybe make it even more impactful. You can touch the screen or touch the button and hear real-life accounts from people who have lived through these circumstances and situations. So, like this one. It's just profound. Can you imagine getting onto a bus and you're tired and your feet hurt and there's seats at the front of the bus and the back of the bus is super crowded and you're supposed to go back there and stand or crowd in with way too many other people versus just having an open seat just because you aren't the right color for that seat. We did a little thing whenever I was in, like, I want to say 4th grade, where for a day everyone had to be a different color. It was like bright colors like blue and green, and throughout the day they did different things that only the blue kids could do or only the green kids could do. And I remember we had these little chalkboards and we had to use these chalkboards because we were the blue kids instead of the green kids who got paper. And I remember it just making me so mad for some reason, and I think in 4th grade I knew something was really wrong with that. And the experiment worked, I mean, I got it. But I remember just being angry at the other kids of the other color because they got to use paper. Something as stupid as that. Now, I can't imagine it being something where it's not just the paper. It's every single part of your life. It just doesn't make any sense. I think coming here was probably one of the best stops that I've made in, like, maybe any of my adventures, because it really puts the common things from your life into perspective. And it's a very powerful museum, so I'm gonna keep going. This is another one of the interactive boards where you actually touch the screen and it takes you to so many different stories that are absolutely amazing. So yeah, this just keeps going on and on. To me is that we still have violence, like what happened here where someone blew up a church, but now it's mostly guns, and we don't seem to have a conclusion or solution to fix any of it. And it's really sad because this has been going on for years. It's just not okay. think that that phrase pretty much sums up so many of the issues we still have today. People want to blame it on one thing or another thing, but in reality, it's all of us have to work together. And without that, we're never going to be able to solve our problems. So that phrase from 1965 still is really relevant in 2018. So relevant. So after going through the entire museum, I'm now going across the street with my same ticket to the Legacy Museum. It's the second part of the museum. So I'm gonna find out a little bit more about what this particular building is, which I have not seen anything about. So here we go.
I have attempted to determine who killed Martin Luther King Jr. None of that person had any assistance.
Police put out a warning bulletin to report a young white male.
One thing I really like about this museum is it's not just about what happened on that particular day where Martin Luther King was assassinated. It's about all of the civil rights and human rights that people have or are entitled to. So this particular exhibit is about that, and it's just a really humbling museum to come to and learn a lot about not just what happened or the causes that led up to what happened, but how as people we have to do better, and how we all deserve certain quality of life and certain things, and how we can attain that. Now behind me are 3 different tapestries that were actually created by an artist who is from Czechoslovakia. He was inspired by the movements and did these, talking about how in Czechoslovakia he had no rights, so he could identify and understand, and he wanted to do something special to contribute to the cause of human rights. It's pretty amazing what people can do. This is the final room of the museum, and this is an amazing video of all sorts of people who make such a positive impact. Behind me are actually basically the wall of fame of those who have been heroes in activism, philanthropy, and then also have been role models for change. And so this is a really great way to end this particular tour and see some just epic, amazing things here in Memphis.